Boston's North End is well known as the place to find Italian restaurants, cafes, and cannoli. But it's also home to some of the oldest buildings in the city, as Director of Archaeology for the City of Boston, Joseph Bagley reveals in his book, Boston's Oldest Buildings and Where to Find Them.
Nobody had done it. So that was kind of the fundamental goal of the book, was to see what are the oldest buildings in Boston. And through that, I wanted to tell an interesting story about each one.
One If by Land, Two If by Sea is a story often told about the 13th oldest building in the book, Old North Church. But Bagley channeled his inner Indiana Jones to uncover the hidden history of this North End building.
I was walking down the street 2 years ago, and that's when I first noticed the belt course on the side of the building. Once I saw that, I realized that this building might be significantly older than I realized.
Look here, this row of protruding bricks represents an early floor support system that is a calling card for local buildings from the early 1700s. Another clue.
It's just a little bit off angle from the rest of the street. When it was built, it was a standalone house.
Further research showed Bagley had discovered the previously undocumented 17th oldest building in Boston. And not just any building.
It's one of potentially two spots where Paul Revere may have been born.
Many of these structures are associated with the powerful, often white men who owned them. But for Bagley, the stories don't end there.
Who else was in these buildings that maybe if this book was written 100 years ago wouldn't have even been mentioned?
Bagley researched the women, immigrants, and enslaved people living in these structures for the book.
Boston definitely is known for its abolitionist history, and it deserves that credit. But as much as it was the first state to ban slavery, it was the first state to make it legal. And it's a story that has been undertold and sometimes never even explored on some of these buildings.
One place it has been explored is here, the 19th oldest building in Bagley's book.
My name is Susie Buchanan. I'm the executive director here at the Shirley Eustace House in Roxbury. William Shirley was the royal governor of Massachusetts from 1741 to 1749, and then again in the 1750s.
The house, built as an English-style country mansion in 1747, featured outstanding views of Beacon Hill, when it was still a beacon, and Back Bay, when it was still a bay.
We've always known that Governor Shirley had slaves, but we didn't know really sort of the extent of his holdings. But if you have 6 horses, right, you need a lot of people to take care of those horses. And that's not to mention the people within the house that would have been enslaved. And then in addition, the people that would have worked in the landscape as well.
In August 2021, Shirley Eustace Place received Boston City Landmark status.
And that includes not only the parcels that we occupy here, but also the parcel across the street at 4244 Shirley Street.
This is where the stables, and more importantly, the enslaved workers who ran it, would have been housed.
That's just so exciting to have a piece of that history that survives. And it really expands our ability to talk about the history of Shirley Place in a much more inclusive way than we ever did before.
People looking to connect with the history of the 54th Regiment, Massachusetts' first Black military unit, often head to this renowned and recently renovated monument on Beacon Hill. However, the regiment has even stronger ties to this field in Hyde Park, where in 1863, what was then Camp Meigs welcomed Black men by the hundreds to train for battle in the South.
The Black volunteers in Massachusetts, there weren't enough to fill out the regiment completely, so Black volunteers came from all the northern states, and some even from across the border in Canada.
Joe Zellner belongs to the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry. Company members volunteer their time to bring the history to life by researching and recreating the experiences of actual soldiers and historical figures.
You had farmers, you had carpenters, you had barbers, you had college students coming from Oberlin to enlist.
One thing you didn't have were former slaves, as most of those early recruits were sacrificing careers and families to fight.
They were fighting for that right for those people enslaved in the South to be also freed from the bondage of slavery.
True to history, the current unit is not racially exclusive. Retired Army officer David Henke takes great pride in his role as an officer in the regiment.
We're standing on sacred ground here. This is the birthplace of one of the greatest American military stories ever told.
One that volunteers, including Quartermaster Sergeant Reggie Dumas, continue to tell.
We are still here, and we're gonna keep on marching. Glory! Ha!
And back to the 54th Regiment Memorial on Boston Common. The massive restoration project that brought the monument back to life is now complete, and there was a rededication of the monument last summer. The National Park Service has created a database to make it easier to research the men who served in the 54th during the Civil War. We'll include a link to that on our website.